Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Prospects Live Pro Side podcast. My name is Trevor Huth. I'm the director of pro scouting at Prospects Live, and I will be the one leading the charge for part of this episode, but we'll get into that later. Alongside me, as always, Matt Cease, Nate Jones. Matt, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm really excited about today. This is going to be a really fun episode.
Yes, we will dive into what that's going to look like here in just a minute. It is exciting. I'm sure if you've watched the last few episodes, you can guess why Matt would be so excited. It's going to involve the draft. And Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're 1 week earlier to All-Star Weekend. Can't wait to get to the halfway point here of the season, coming off a Red Sox sweep of the Yankees we just watched last night. So a lot of things to be excited about here in baseball.
Nate, are you a Red Sox fan?
I don't really watch very much, but here and there, get some
Good answer. All right. So as mentioned, well, actually, before we get into anything, I would like to, on this podcast, for no reason at all, because it has nothing to do with baseball, wish my wife a happy birthday, because it is her birthday. So, gotta take care of the chores there. Now, for baseball purposes, what we are going to do is we're going to spend the first half of this episode doing more of the pro side podcast stuff that we have been doing. We'll get to call ups. I think there's a few players that we're going to talk about if we have time. About halfway through, another one of our colleagues at Prospects Live, Will Dodge, is going to be joining the show. He was just at the MLB Draft Combine. And so the plan is to get him on, talk about the Draft Combine, talk about some of these upcoming draft prospects, and I believe do a redraft of a previous draft. I won't give that one away yet, what year that is, but it should be a fun time. When Will comes, the odds are that I'm going to be backing out of the podcast, as I am not as well versed on the draft as these guys are. So they'll stay. Will be here, and they are just going to talk about the draft, and it's going to be a fun show. That's going to happen, I think, hopefully about halfway through this hour. The show may go a little long, which is fine because it's all going to be great content. We want to get as much as we can out of Will and let him have his say. So Matt will take over hosting duties. I know your first inclination might be to leave. Don't leave. It's still going to be fun. I'm just kidding. Matt did a great job when he filled in for me a couple weeks ago. So let's jump into baseball. There are a lot of call-ups. I'm just going to read down the list again, and we could talk about them. Chase Harlan was promoted to high A with the Dodgers. John Peck, Tiger, to AAA on the 40-man roster. That's interesting. We talked about that. AJ Russell with the Rangers to high A. We have Alfredo Duno, catcher with the Reds. He was promoted to AA. He's got power. Franklin Primera, who's been just crushing the complex, promoted to single A. And then we have a number of guys promoted to the majors. Cooper Ingle. So we have a Tiger, a Red Sox, and a Guardian that we could talk about during this. Sean Keys promoted to the Blue Jays. Hurston Waldrop is back with the Braves. He was hurt, and then they set him down, and then he's returned. Cameron Cawley getting the call up for the Rangers, and Kevin Alcantara is with the Cubs, and Joshua Kuroda-Grauer, just like an hour before we started this, it came out that he is getting promoted to the A's. So that's quite a bit of names. Let's stay away from the MLB guys for the moment and just talk about some of these minor league, these guys getting promoted within the minor league systems. Chase Harlan with the Dodgers has been on an absolute tear. He has been so good. And of course, he's in the Dodgers organization because that's just what happens. But he is a really good hitter. He was kind of, I thought, slept on a little bit before this season started. I think I would have to check this, but I think he was my pick for the Dodgers for outside of our top 20. I'm not even sure he was in our top 20. And since then, I've been all on this hype train of this dude's going to be able to hit. You guys were talking about this a little bit in our group chat prior to going on. Nate, what do you think of Chase Harlan? What is your takeaway from this call-up?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of a dive on Harlan here of late, and the power profile with the swing propensity that he has is one that's really going to highlight his abilities and capabilities as a hitter. Right now, he's running an EV90 of 109.4, and he's exceeded 115 3 times already this year. I mean, he's just at the time of recording right now, he is only 19 years old, which is crazy given the power that he's putting out here. But I mean, on the year, he's got a 63% pull rate. So he's a very heavy pull hitter, and it really plays into that swing profile of his. And he's currently running right now a 21.1% pull air rate in high A on the year. So it's definitely a power profile that plays very well with his swing propensities. I think also, given the fact that he's 6'3", he does get a lot of plate coverage. There's a lot of pitches that he can go down and get, or maybe reach in the outside part of the plate that most hitters might not be able to get with the frame that they're working with. So that does make a very imposing bat and a very scary at bat for any opposing pitcher facing him as he comes through the system.
And he's not the first Dodger to be having a good system and get promoted that we've talked about, right? Emil Morales was another one. Coe's having a great year for them. Like, they just have these guys.
Yep.
And maybe I'm just thinking of it through the lens of, dynasty baseball, because I always avoid Dodgers for a specific reason. And I'm going to ask you about this now because I think there's real life implications to it. At what point is the talent too much? Like, at what point are we burying prospects? And could Harlan fall victim to that, Matt?
I mean, 100%. You have to basically cut off the Dodgers list. I would say you've got your DePaulo's, Hopes, Morales. I think Zezueta has forced the issue this year more than just about anybody in that system.
Mm-hmm.
But someone like Harlan, and then, of course, Sirota. Cannot forget Sirota. Again, there's like a top line here of guys who are just dudes. And then you look at the positions that they play, and then you look at the major league roster, and you're like, that's a Hall of Famer. That's a Hall of Famer. That's a Hall of Famer. What are we doing here? And yeah, it just kind of feels like this is an embarrassment of riches at a level we have literally never seen before, possibly in the history of baseball. You would have to go back to like the 90s Expos to look at a farm system this absolutely stupidly loaded with basically nowhere to put him. And I think Harlan is super interesting too, because he's kind of like the inverse of Sirota, whereas Sirota is super, super patient. Harlan will swing at just about everything. And I think getting up to the to the next level, I think that's the biggest thing for him. I want to kind of monitor as he is in high A, is to see if that is something that he has to adjust, if that is finally going to be something that pitchers start to exploit, is his propensity to swing, like Nate said. But I mean, when you can get the ball across the zone the way that he can and find pull side power the way that he can, it makes you really hard at bat at these levels. I think until he gets to AA, he won't truly see a pitching challenge quite to his liking. So I definitely think he could be a fast mover through this system. I also think that, these are guys that probably could net you pretty good haul, but to the Dodgers' credit, if you move them now just for the sake of moving them because you have nowhere to put them, are you going to be getting back the full value of their of what they could become?
And you're still looking a couple years out with some of these guys, right? That's a great point. The other great point you made is that the system is so loaded. It's easy for us to look back now and go, how did Harlan not make the top 20? Why was he the guy to watch outside the top 20? Well, the system is loaded. I mean, you rattled off a lot of names, and you didn't even quite get to, like a James Tibbs, or I don't think I heard you say Charles Davilan.
I did not.
There's Ching Sen Ko, right? It's just insane how many names that you could pull out and be like, well, you didn't even mention them. And there's other guys who didn't make the list that you could probably talk about. I don't know if I don't remember off the top of my head if Cam Leiter made the list. Cam Leiter's been having a great season.
I just pulled it up here, actually. We had 12 Dodgers at 50 or higher grade. That's nuts.
That's crazy, right? So there are guys who are close, right? Like DePaul is going to be close. Emil Morales is in AA. He's not, or no, he's in high A, right? He's still a few years out. Harlan's still a few years out. Davilan's still a few years out, right? They can develop these guys, and they do end up trading them. Like Tehran Lorenzo got traded to the Tigers. That's the one that comes up the top of my head. If you remember, a few years back, they traded Jeter Downs to the Red Sox. I don't remember what deal that was. But they can trade these guys and get value back. But it is so loaded, and that's a good thing, right? That's not we're saying it like it's bad. It's not bad. It's a testament to what the Dodgers can do in terms of finding talent, developing talent, and shelling out the money to pay for the talent at the big league level as well. So it is hard to find spots for these guys, but again, they don't need to rush the prospects either, which is another side of that conversation. If they have a person that they believe in, they'll make the room.
Absolutely.
Right? They're going to make the room for them. It's just a matter of, are they ready? Do we think they're ready? So a lot of this conversation is a few years off from even mattering, but it is a very good farm system.
I also think just one last point on that system. I also think it's really funny that the one guy everybody thought that was going to get moved as a prospect for enter superstar here was Gavin Lux, and they held on to Lux. And for a lot of what Lux did in LA up until that last season, he was a bit of a disappointment. And then they move Lux, and they get Sirota, and then they get a comp pick that ends up being Davalon. And it's just like, this is a ridiculous embarrassment of riches.
So they hold on to Lux, let his value drop, and then still get like a superhero out of the. It's ridiculous that they can pull off in the trade market. It's unreal.
And this is. Then they've always had these guys. I mean, Corey Seager, right? It's hard to think of him as a Dodger at this point, but he was the Dodger at one point, and they just are really good at this. And we've seen recently that they're willing to figure out how to make it work. Dalton Rushing, right, came up as a catcher. Well, where is he going to play? Because they have Will Smith. They started giving him reps in the outfield, and they were just going to find a place for him because they believed that his bat was going to help them. So they found the place. They are going to do what they have to do to find a way to get these players on the field if that's the player. And if it's not, and they're ready, and they can maybe get something for him and trade,
absolutely,
they probably will.
Because I feel like the Dodgers have an injured pitcher, I think, once a month. As deep as their playoff runs are every single season, it's multiple relievers. It's a starter or two or three. And by the time we get to the deadline, some of these guys end up getting moved for arms, and then all of those starters come back, and you're like, oh my goodness, the Dodgers have 8 starting pitchers for the postseason. Like, where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at,
and that's sort of a luxury that they're afforded. That's sort of a luxury that they're afforded with the talent level that they have in the big leagues. They have that influx of money coming in to afford to pay these top stars, but then you have the great scouting. They have amateur, international. They always have an influx of guys coming in to really replenish that farm. And when you have a farm of that level and then a talent level at the big league level, it kind of comes together that you can kind of use some of these prospects and keep pushing in higher price points on the trade market. And that kind of just makes them a competitor. That's why you see them every offseason, every trade deadline. Oh, Dodgers are in on this guy, and this guy. Like, oh, there's no way that they're possibly going to get this guy too, but they do, because they have one of the best consistently farm systems in baseball, along with the absolutely loaded roster they have at the big league level.
Yeah, Tigers fan. I don't want to see Skubal traded. I understand why you might have to trade him. I understand what you should get, and the Dodgers are said to be interested, and like, that doesn't really upset me that much. I mean, no, because of what you need to get back. They're one of the teams I think that has that, even if we don't need to get into that too much, but they do have a good farm system. And speaking of trades, looking at our comments, Raj wants to know if Cheater Downs was in the David Price deal. I don't know if he's joking.
It was the David Price deal. Yeah, it was Downs for Price straight up.
Yep. Nobody else involved.
Downs for Price straight up. That was it. Nobody else. Yep. Moving on. Trevor, when do you think you're going to get back to the Dodgers for Skubal, actually, since we're on this topic?
Nate, I don't believe you. Hang on. Don't change the topic. Who were the other? There was another player in that trade, or a couple players in that trade, I think, right?
I think it was Brusdar Graterol.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do have a question. I have a question for you guys. Do you guys possibly remember the trade that never was, that was supposed to happen the week before with the Dodgers and the Angels?
Oh, yeah. No.
Nate, do you know?
Twins, wasn't it?
No,
it was the whole thing surrounding Graterol.
So this wasn't Graterol. This involved, I believe, Jock Peterson and Andy Pages.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And then deals fell through, things happened, and then Pages ends up staying a Dodger, ends up becoming one of the best center fielders in baseball.
How it goes. It's just how it goes. All right. John Peck. I want to talk about him for a minute. John Peck is he was added to the 40-man roster. I think it was a little bit of a surprise to me, but not a bad addition. He can play a lot of positions on the infield, which is valuable. He's a little aggressive, I think, at the plate. He runs like a mid-20 strikeout rate. He walks about 5%. So I don't know how much his bat is going to play, but he can do a little bit of damage. I think he's more of a defense first guy. I think his glove is going to help you more than his bat will at the big league level. And I don't know how his bat even plays at the big league level. Like I said, it is pretty aggressive, right? He swings. So when he makes the contact, he can make good contact at times. I think he's got double-digit home runs. I believe he's close to 20 steals this year. So there is some skill set there. He's going to be up in Toledo now. And maybe he could make a push if the Tigers need more infield help. Yeah. I'm not sure how much he is outside of the mold of, Max Anderson and Hao Lee. And I mean, it's all, I don't know how much different he is. And the other two, I think, are better hitters. So good to see. And again, I hope we get to see him at the big league level. He is, I've said it a few times, he is on the 40-man, which makes this very interesting that he's one step away. Because if he hits in Toledo, there's no reason not to bring him up, especially with the way the season is going. But just wanted to touch on that quick because I think Peck is a very interesting prospect in some ways. Since I talked about my Tiger, Nate, why don't you talk about Franklin Primera? What do you know about him? I know Complex can be a little bit difficult to have any real opinions on. I tend to, for some reason, probably because I'm not that smart. But Nate, what do you think about Primera? I know you're generally excited about him.
Yeah, Primera is somebody that's gotten a lot of steam in the organization lately. Like Trevor said, it's a little difficult to get a hold of some footage for the Complex, but the numbers have just been jaw-dropping. He's running a 107.1 EV90. He's running a 111 max EV on the year. It's just been a lot of hard contact, and by all accounts, he's got the profile to have a maybe plus to maybe double plus from what I've heard from people around the Complex glove to go along with that bat. And that's definitely something that if he can continue that defensive profile with that future projection, that's going to be a very quickly rising prospect in the ranks. When you have a bat as loud as that one with the full tendency like he is to keep the ball pulled and in the air, along with that defensive profile, it's going to be one that teams should be very, very excited about. You don't see this very often with power at the catcher position. So it's definitely something that's more of a rare archetype at that position.
Yep, absolutely.
He has been playing a little bit of first too, not a ton, but he has been playing first a little bit. I think I just looked it up. He's close to 10 games. I think he was at 8 games, but he's over 30 at catcher. So do you think he stays at catcher long term, Nate, from what you've gathered about him?
So, yeah. Also, at his age, you don't want to come out and have these guys catching every single day through and through over and over again. It's not as widely known, but I mean, when you got a guy catching every day, it's still going to put near similar strain on the arm as it is as somebody that's going out and having a start on the mound. So you don't want to go and have your stud up and coming catching prospect blowing his arm out at age 18, 19 when you're catching 50, 100 innings back to back like that in a month or so at that span. So I do like that they're spelling him with some first base opportunities as well. And I mean, also we don't have much depth. The Sox don't have much depth at the first base position in the farm anyway. So it's good to get that positional versatility as well.
Cincinnati did that.
If you want a catcher, don't let him catch. That's according to Nate.
Well, Cincinnati did that with Duno, and we've also seen it with Reinel Rodriguez a bit. Obviously, you want to get them comfortable at first base to at least be able to have some versatility there, but also getting them reps at first base makes it really easy to fast track their bat if it continues to play at that high of a level as they continue to climb the ranks.
Well, weird things happen too. This is just top of my mind because he was one of my favorite prospects, and I still want to believe in him. Jefferson Caro didn't pull his arm out from catching. He dove back into first base and was out for a year, right? So things happen that have nothing to do with catching too, right? It's good to have them have that positional flexibility, especially if the bat is good. And Matt,
Absolutely.
since you mentioned Alfredo Duno, he was promoted to Double A. That's good.
I think every Lake County Captains pitcher is thanking everybody humanly possible that he is out of high A. Duno is just a freak of nature. This is probably one of my favorite prospects in all of baseball. I would probably say he's pushing fringe, like top 10 prospects in baseball right now. Like definitely 10 to 20 in my eyes. He is just like, he's huge for one. I think that's just the biggest thing is he's listed at 210. Don't buy it for a second. But he is, it's like you look at him swing, you look at him get to the ball down in the zone. It's like Salvador Perez reincarnated. Like he has just unbelievable raw power that he has started to tap into more and more this season. He gets to his pull side with ease. And I think the best thing about Duno is that I think he is going to stick behind the plate.
Mm-hmm. It is insane pop from the catcher position, and well deserved to see him in Double A. Definitely a good call up. Sorry, I'm making fun of Matt in our group chat because that's why none of us can talk at the moment. Just going to be honest about it. Earlier in the day, there was a tweet shared about, it had Henry Bolte's, I think, was it
EV90?
Yeah. And then, like, down the list, number 7 or something was Chase DeLauder. Matt goes, I know this is a Henry Bolte thing, but Chase DeLauder doing that's really good. Just shared the meme of somebody looking in a mirror going, make it about the Guardians. So I just sent that again because I asked about Alfredo Duno who is a prospect in the Reds organization. And he starts with, Lake County.
Hey, I kept it in the border of the state. All right.
Just a little behind the scenes. Okay. So we've gotten through these guys who are not yet promoted to the majors, but why don't we just stick with catchers, Matt, and let you do what you're good at here and talk about the Guardians. Cooper Engel has been promoted to the majors. What role do you see him playing? Is he a catcher long term?
I don't think so. I don't think the Guardians do either. That's why he has gone through this massive crash course in the corner outfield again, kind of getting back to where he was at Clemson. He is such a fascinating prospect. I think might be about as unique of a prospect as we have in all of baseball. For one, he's 5'8", so he quite literally can't just move from catcher to first base. He's not big enough to play first base, so they have to find him spot in the corner outfield, which, I mean, given everything going on with Steven Vaughn right now, might be a little bit easier than maybe had initially thought if we were talking about this 3 months ago. But he is one of the more unique hitters across all of minor league ball because he has maintained possibly the most passive swing profile in the minor leagues from the day he got drafted to the day he got promoted. He left Columbus with a 7th percentile zone swing rate per TJ Stats, 6th percentile swing rate. It's just passivity at levels that I just don't know can translate to the major leagues. He's very good at getting the ball to his pull side, but my concern with Engel is pitchers at the major league level are obviously just head and shoulders above what he sees in AAA and then any other level that he would have faced at the minor league level. They're going to live in the zone a little bit more. Their stuff is better. And until guys can prove that they can basically either lay off pitches or do damage on pitches in the zone, they're going to get attacked in the zone quite a bit. I think that is going to be a massive adjustment phase for Engel. He did just get his first hit and his first RBI. It was a really clutch hit the other day against Seattle. So like big ups to him too, because I think he has such great zone awareness. I just don't know if his passivity is going to be something that translates. But he has always had a really, really, really well optimized launch profile. He gets to, like I said, he gets to his pull side. Hard hit rates and barrel rates were up pretty well in AAA, which I thought was always really unique because he just doesn't have a lot of power just physically. I think he it says right here 107.2 max EV in AAA. It's this 39th percentile, not really much there, but like to be able to get to the barrel as consistently as he can and optimize what he can do. Cleveland at its best is a launching pad to right field, so that's where that'll play the best for him. And if he does have success there, I think it's because he figures that he can be more selectively aggressive rather than just super selective.
So let's take a step back. It's a great breakdown of Engel, but that brings up a point that comes up a lot when we are evaluating players. You said the word passive, right? Passive is always, it's not a good thing, right? You don't want to be passive at the plate. You're looking for patient or selective, as you want to call it, selectively aggressive. But it's a fine line. Like when you are looking at a guy, what is the difference to you when you are seeing somebody who is patient versus somebody who is passive? Nate, I don't know if you have an answer ready to this question or anything, but like, what does passivity look like to you when you are seeing it during the scouting process?
I feel like the difference between patient and passivity would be patient would be more so waiting to get your pitch and sort of trying to get yourself in a position where you can maximize your tendencies as a hitter, where passivity is where you're sort of keying in for more of pitches that you can barrel up and do damage on rather than trying to just put yourself in a position to have a more favorable count in the at-bat in the most simple way I can put it possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm going to cut off this conversation. I'm going to cut it a little short, but I think it's something that we should come back around to at some point because I think it is an interesting conversation. We can pull up certain guys. Sean Keyes was also promoted. That he's been flying through the system. He has been a madman hitting the ball. I'm really interested to see what that looks like in Toronto. Yep. Cameron Cawley just got the call. Kevin Alcantara, Hurston Waldrop. We're not quite going to get to them. I do, for a second, before we bring Will on, I do want to talk about Joshua Kuroda-Grauer for just a minute because that's a very interesting profile.
Yep.
It is all contact and fielding. Matt.
So I think
I just do it.
I mean, yeah, that pretty much sums him up. I think you had made the comment that it's Jacob Wilson light coming up through the system, but like he was 99th percentile zone contact rate, but about towards the low end in terms of barrel rate, hard hit rate. But I mean, he definitely still gets to like kind of weird levels of power despite it because he has a great feel for getting the barrel through the zone. I'm interested to see how this translates up because he is somebody else that I think is kind of uniquely, like we were just talking about, passive. He swings like a pretty fair amount, but he doesn't swing a ton in the zone comparatively. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how that does translate to him, being able to kind of slap the ball around the field. And I think he is someone that thrives on the not to shout out a foolish baseball video, but the opposite field ground ball. He's someone that really thrives on being able to just pepper the ball around the infield, find his way on, just a real pest to deal with in the batter's box, and then about as sure-handed as you could get on defense. So yeah, he could be a very fun depth piece for the Athletics.
He was always just interesting to me because he was drafted third round in 2024, and in that draft year, they put him in AAA for a little bit of time. Like he got a cup of coffee in AAA right out of college. I looked it up recently. That's fine. Rutgers, right out of Rutgers, He got a look out of AAA, and I thought that was interesting just to see because it doesn't normally happen. And then he goes back down, in 25 and made it to I think AA, and now obviously he's progressed to the majors. Anyway, that's enough for me. Let's bring on Will Dodge. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you guys? Thank you for having me on.
Of course. We are so excited. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Will was just at the MLB Scouting Combine. So I am going to make sure he talks about the guys that I liked best based on the batting practice videos I saw. No, I'm kidding. Will, we are super excited to have your insight and go through some of this draft stuff. As I mentioned, just for us, I may jump off here at some point, and Matt's going to take over. But Will, super happy to have you. And can you just tell us what the draft combine was like? Just what was that experience like?
It was totally incredible. For a lot of the prep, almost all the prep guys and a good number of the college guys, my first time seeing them in person. But having watched like all of this old like showcase and tournament film to watch these guys in person all together is really like a one-of-one experience. I'd love to make it like an annual thing if it's possible. And then being there with JB, also with PLive, was awesome because he has experience with a lot of the guys like from his work at USA Baseball. So I'm very in tune with like what their priors were on like a data sense, and I'm freaking out on like, oh my god, this guy's hitting the ball like 2 miles per hour harder now, and he's looking over at me like, okay, like just relax, he did good or he didn't do that great, like in the actual games. So we were very good like yin and yang to each other, but it was just truly an awesome experience. I mean, we were there for 3 days. I think I spent about like 33 hours in Chase Field in those 33 days. It's just all you really asked for. And then in that middle day on the Wednesday, honestly missed a lot of the second half action because we were interviewing 15 players. So that was a really truly exceptional opportunity to get to know some of the guys.
Yeah, if you haven't seen some of the video that these guys took, you can find that on Twitter and I'm sure other places. And you've been writing content about it on Prospects Live, right? So
yeah. So after day one, we did a combined article highlighting our 16 standouts. And then honestly, we chose not to do a day 2 one just because we were interviewing during the majority of the second half. So we didn't really get the true live look there. We have 2 interviews out right now. JB was on the field getting pitch grips with Jackson Flora. That was really awesome. Did 3 minutes of that, and then turned off the camera and talked to him for like another 20. And it was really awesome to learn him or hear how he clicked. I have my interview up, similar ordeal with Tyson Grolkowski. He's a Wisconsin-based prep right-hander. Same sort of thing. Turned the camera off, talked to him like another 10. It was great to get to know him. But we interviewed a ton of guys. We have audio-only interviews. I think we're going to do like a transcript-style interview with Drew Burris, Grady Emerson, Jacob Lombard. We have pitch grips with Cam Fluke, who coincidentally just entered the portal today. We got more of a sit-down interview with Martin Sheelar and Mason Edwards. Sherman Johnson is a data guy that I think we both really like as a standout. So tons of guys. That was truly like awesome experience.
So in the spirit of what this podcast is, we focused on scouting on the pro side, right? So can you walk us through what the scouting process looked like to you in terms of what you're looking for, maybe from movement or what they did versus having that data available to you?
Yeah, so just from the combine itself, they put up on the video board for the BPs. They have exit velocity and launch and total distance, but then the rest is you're really just watching it for yourself. Especially like for all the field work, they had nothing up there. Like I threw up my phone and had MLB Network right next to me just to get arm strength. But other than that, like I was just seeing what everyone else was seeing. I noticed though on the watch back that they were cutting to commercial for like half the fielding, which was pretty sad. But it was really nice on our own end because then we got then just being there, like we watched the hard stuff, and then on the mound they only showed velo and movement. No spin rate, no like extension release height or anything. So it was pretty like bare bones there. And what you're doing really is just checking your priors. Like I know for a lot of the prep guys, it's like 2025 or 2024 movement data from what we're getting. And you're just trying to see like what's different, what's new. You see just following from guys in their spring season who's making a velo jump. Some of those guys held it, some of them didn't. And that's not to like kill a guy if he hasn't, but it's just something to note that like, hey, he was reportedly at this max. He could certainly get back to it, but it's you see all the time with like draft guys that they're touching 98 and they come to the complex and it's like sitting 91. It's like, well, where did that all come from? It's like, okay, well, this might be a guy that it's like that.
So I'm just gonna I'm basing everything off of like these BP swings that came out, right? But just based on that, I think the 2 guys I walked away from thinking, man, that's really interesting is Rocco Maniscalco and Juriel Collazo. And I'm going to let you get into the nitty gritty with Matt and Nate here in a second. So without giving too much of that conversation away, who are 1 or 2 guys that stood out for you the most? You could just give us names at this point. You don't have to dive in. I'm sure Matt will ask you about that in a moment.
Yeah, it's hard to deny Rocco Maniscalco. I think he was the ultimate, like I think, winner of the combine. for those who don't know, he'll be 17.2 on draft day. It's going to be one of the youngest players in draft history. Without diving like way too much, he was a really interesting like reclass for me because he was part of like that whole Team USA circuit and didn't like really perform the best, but you can kind of see where the projection is, and that projection has happened. Certainly, like him showing it through the combine. I was a really big fan of Martin Sheelar coming into the combine. He definitely raised his power a little bit more. I like you do your best in this process to like not like double check yourself off other boards, but I think we're gonna be way higher on him than anyone else. I certainly am gonna be way higher on him. I don't really see what people are missing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's crazy when you find prospects like that where you're like, what am I not seeing? It's almost not like what are they missing? It's what am I missing, right? Mm-hmm. Oh man, I am very happy to have you, Will. I can't wait to hear what this conversation sounds like. I am going to duck out so it can turn into a smart conversation rather than just like a straight up one-on-one interview. I do appreciate you being here. So Matt, you go ahead and take over. I want to thank everybody for listening, of course, and I will see you guys next week.
All right. So obviously, Trevor said, smart conversation, right? No, this is going to be kind of where we dive into some of the things that I had touched on with Will in passing. I think we can start with Maniscalco, especially. You touched on how young he is, and just in terms of his age and his physical build already, and then the exit velocities that he was posting to the pull side, just how much of a riser do you think that he can be just based off of the combine?
Yeah, me personally, he was just a guy that was slipping over the course of the spring. When I did a first eval on him, especially when he reclassed, I had him in that like 20-30 range. Then you just kind of do a couple double checks. It's like, like he didn't really perform that well. He looked a little overmatched. You have to check it that it was a 16-year-old going up against 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I dropped him basically over the course of the year, just also from not like hearing much about him, all the way down to 60, and he's right back up to 20 for me. I think it's more of a third base profile. Like he is a really kind of strong, sturdy build. But he showed the arm strength goes up to 97. I mean, it's a double plus arm for me. He showed potential for plus bat. It's a really matured body for his age. Like you're gonna have to kind of hope and pray a little bit on the whiffs to come together, just because there wasn't really any like there was a live AB like little portion, but it wasn't the top guys performing in that. So kind of what we have isn't the brightest thing for him. But he's gonna be 17.2. He's gonna have a ton of time to correct that, and I think he'll start out as a shortstop. I think he can maybe hang there. I didn't get any run times for him from the combine, but he's been like a 50 runner in the past. Again, like I think it might fit a little bit better at third base, but he could be one of the better defensive third basemen.
And that's kind of the interesting talking point here is Trevor kind of hinted at, like, you have to do X amount of projectability when these guys get into the minor leagues. But when you get a prep bat who is 16 that reclassifies, how much projectability do you have to do in terms of like that seems well within the realm of realistic with a guy like this? Because physically he is just already pretty much a specimen, and I thought that was my biggest takeaway with him as well. So when you look at someone his size, how much can you project upon that in terms of a size? Do you think that can alone push him off of shortstop, or do you think that won't be an issue?
Yeah, I think it might be. It's also just going to depend on like the org fit and like where he goes to. Like you could say Carlos Correa should have been a third baseman, like in a lot of other orgs. He's also, he's won a platinum glove at shortstop, but he's also a really big guy. I'm not sure if there's going to be like a ton of strength that he's going to put on more. Obviously, like going through prep to professional development or like strength development is going to help him like get stronger, but I don't think he's going to need to do a ton of work versus like other prep guys. And so what that could do is just kind of focus his development timeline, focus his development kind of prep and, actions in a pro system. And, you could say that might make him like an even quicker riser through orgs.
So the next player I want to touch on comes from a pretty unique lineage of Major League prospects here with Caden Bogenpole out of Missouri State. Obviously, Missouri State, Drake Baldwin, Ryan Howard, Luke Voigt, like very interesting MLB lineage here. 2 questions. One, how does he get stuck at Missouri State in this era of NIL and the as much ubiquitous scouting as we have? And then 2, just how much does his power translate versus kind of what we saw at the college level this year, as we saw his power numbers dip a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's to speak on like how he stays at Missouri State. I haven't talked to him, but he could. It's all about relationships still, even with the dollar signs that are in college sports. It hasn't really hit college baseball to the amount that it has. Certainly not like basketball or football. The top guys are making more than like mid-major guys, but it's not like a ton. So I think still just kind of relationships, familiarity with staff certainly are playing into a factor. And in terms of the power, like it was pretty speechless. Topped at 119 miles per hour off the bat. That was a line drive for a home run. He topped at 116. I'd have to double check my notes, but I think it was numerous times in the 450 hit distance range. Like it is pretty effortless power. At the same time, though, it is a pretty like stereotypical like slugger profile. It's, if you want to be optimistic, a 35 bat. There's a lot of swing and miss in zone. There's even more swing and miss when he faces like upper competition pitching. For him, especially like when you can consider like how he did on the Cape. He ran well. He was one of the few that ran. They do 30-yard dashes, not 60. It just kind of throws off your whole like internal 28 skill. JB was catching a flight up, and then so I was the only one there at the time, and I'm texting what are you doing for the 2080 skill? And I was just kind of double checking like tables to make sure what I'm doing there for 30s, because it's not like you're just like running out of the box. Like you're not giving a swing. It's a total like it's totally its own thing that they've only been doing for the last couple of years. But yeah, he ran like a 50 time then, and he's another guy. It's like he's not like he's gonna need to like get in the weight room and like add strength. It's gonna be like maintaining his body. I think it's more of a left fielder going forward, probably in like the 3rd, 4th round. But it's 70 pop, and it's gonna translate to wood certainly.
Okay, so we are going to turn over towards, based on just how you had just talked about Martin Shalar, kind of seems to be, I guess, quote unquote, one of your crushes from the combine, coming out of the combine. And then we had him in over at Prospects Live mocked in the 2nd round to the Guardians. So obviously my antennas were raised there naturally, but I think you and I both agreed it would be a bit crazy for him to drop that far. And just kind of touch on 1, why you think that, and then 2, what you think possibly others are missing, or how he could be one of the biggest sleepers in this draft.
Yeah, so he was actually, I forget if I mentioned or not, but he was one of the guys that we interviewed too. And I was really fortunate. Like you put in a list of like 20 guys that you want to interview, and you get back. Some guys only got like 4. We got 8. Then we got just pulled guys that we saw walking by. Hey, can you give a quick interview? He was one of the guys that we got, and I was really excited to get it. And even more excited that it came after he had like an absolute show in BP in day 1. And part of interviewing him is we turn off the camera, kind of like ask him about like his approach and whatnot. And he talks about how he's more of a power hitter. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Well, like you make really consistent contact. Like you're one of the most consistent in zone and out of zone, like with adjustability in your swing. It's a very steep vertical bat path, but he has incredible hand speed that he does make that adjustability to different pitches, and he has really good swing decisions. And then he goes out in the combine. He's already a really good power hitter. He puts up a 115 max, and it's like, my personal grades for him is a 55 hit 60 power, and you immediately when you have that, you put yourself really high on lists.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was one of the guys that also ran. It was a 50 time. Like he's played center field. It's probably like a left field. It's like more of a fringe defensive ability. So you can you can knock him on that, but like there are tons of outfielders in pro ball that are not the greatest defenders and are really good hitters at the plate, and the offensive value is going to win out. Doing like a little bit of a tease, I'm hoping within this week to finish off the top 500. He's going to be in my top 15, no doubt. And no, we talked about, I forget the pick overall that you're mentioning on the mock draft, but like that was like the 50s, 60s range. Yes. I think you should go way, way higher than that.
I actually I made sure that I printed out your top 100 that you had teased on Twitter. I guess I'm an old man and still print things out, but it's easy.
No.
But I wish you had him at 27, and then the way you had
he's gonna be higher.
Now he's gonna be even higher.
It was just so funny that, like, to me, I just can't get out of my head that you mentioned, I've always been like a power hitter. It's like, no, dude, like you make contact really well. You make contact on a lot of other prep bats. Like he wasn't one of those guys that went on every single showcase. So maybe the quality of the competition that he had wasn't the most elite, but he still has a ton of games on the showcase round, and he balled out there. And so, the offensive profile is pretty good.
And when you get to the showcases, what's the one thing that you really look for in terms of a bat like Shalar? You talk about his ability to pretty much kind of get to everything. He has really good adjustability at the plate. Are things like how he handles higher end velocity, are those things that like you are hyper focused on when you get to watch them on the showcase?
Yeah, I mean, like you want to see like you really want to see how they perform against those top pitchers. Sometimes though it leads to like a handful of at bats, and you don't want to like over index on that. So when you get to that point, like there are some guys that like really have a very, very low total amount of games. Like you could think of Jack Beck, who's a shortstop, or just kind of like an infield commit to Georgia Southern, who put up EVs during day 2. We were interviewing then, but I think it was in the 114, 115 range. Pretty good. I think he's going to be certainly a riser on everyone's board. But he really didn't compete, or not that he didn't compete. He just didn't like go to any of the showcases, and that's perfectly fine. This whole kind of showcase industry is very like privatized as it is. I don't really blame anyone for not going to any of them. And so at that point, like you want to see like what the athleticism is. Is there something in store that like you can take that requires like a little bit of less of a sample, like bat speed or hand speed, or just kind of athletic testing in general, that you can kind of say, hey, he has the clay there to adjust. But, if you do have a performance against premium pitching, that is a pretty valuable thing. And if it's really good, then, you should be going pretty high.
So as we kind of bring up pitching, I want to recenter towards what I think is going to end up being one of the names talked about the most going into this draft. That is Logan Redman, who Nate, we had just talked about him, kind of had some dead arm issues, and getting him basically on the mound at the combine was a huge deal. And you had gotten, I believe it was you had posted it on X, that you had gotten to get some video of him and possibly even some measurements. Does it look like he is kind of back and going, or do you think he's kind of holding back a little bit from what he was showcased? And then what does his outlook look like going into the draft?
Yeah, so that was his second return to the mound. He threw a bullpen at UCLA last week. So he's definitely still ramping up. Like it wasn't to what he was at versus USC or certainly Rutgers when he had that 19 strikeout performance and was almost sitting 98. It was sitting like 92, 93, touching 94. And like, that's okay. It's your second like appearance back in what would be like a rehab. If this was a pro development, he would be thrown like at an Arizona complex, or like low A. Like you wouldn't be put on a mound. So just him being back on the mound is pretty nice. But that said, like I think he might be an arm that I might be a little bit lower on. He's in my mid 30s right now, tentatively. I like the fastball action. I think pitching, especially on the college end, is something you really have to keep yourself measured with. Just because there are so many differences with the ball itself, and it can really dictate or it can really lie to you like what the future movement is. He's a guy that has like above average or kind of more ride than expected. I think in a pro ball it might be a little regular, not to say that he's dead zone, but just that it's kind of like an average pitch. Especially if it's sitting in that like 94 to 93 range. If Norwood can get him to like where he was against USC and Rutgers, it was like sitting 96, 97, topping 99. And then that becomes like an above average pitch. And he certainly has elite, tremendous command for it. The rest of the profile is like it's just a little regular to me. He has a really small kind of range of velocities. The curveball is in the lower 80s, the slider is in the mid to lower 80s, the cutter is in the mid to upper 80s, the changeups in the mid 80s. The changeup is a really weird pitch for me. He like the movement profile that he gets on is almost very similar to the fastball. It's almost like directly 1-of-1 on like a movement plot. He kills like good velocity on it, and he has really good command for it. And it's performed really well for him. But it's just something that I think it might be a better college pitch than does a pro pitch. That command that I keep mentioning is something that it's going to give him a floor, like kind of, if you consider draft floors to be a thing, in sort of like a pro mindset. Like I think there's a high probability that it becomes like sort of that innings eating MLB arm. But does he have like a number 2 or a number 3 upside? I just don't really think I see that at the moment.
That's actually really interesting.
I will say to the testament of the improvements he made of the past year before he went down there following, I believe it was the Minnesota start. His velo's ticked up a little bit. He went from 91 and 95 to 93 to 97 in the past 2 years with his fastball. He saw about 150, improving about 150 on the spin rate for his fastball, and then almost 2 inches on the induced vertical break. So the shape is definitely still improving. He's improving the ride on the fastball. It's definitely something to keep watching as he, especially when we, like Will said, with a more generalized baseball using across league wide rather than conference to conference or however they specialize the pitches that baseballs that they use.
Also curious to see where he lands too. It's pretty much just every team now. They have the ability to develop a fastball of some kind. I think there's still very clearly some teams and some pitching development programs that are better than others league wide, but especially with him finding more propensity to spin, do you think that's something that a team will look at and say, okay, is this something that he's capped out, or is this something that we can continue to develop to shore up his kind of his spin axis on his fastball, make sure that we're getting better efficiency here?
Yeah, I think that's like something to like various degrees with every program. Like, you could say maybe Wake is like the one program that you're not really going to squeeze a whole lot out of. But I think certainly in the last couple of years, as we've seen a ton of college pitching gurus jump to pro orgs, I'd say pretty much every pro org has a better development program than every college org. UCLA is one of the better ones, but I think they're one of the better ones at like, getting athletes to pitch in the zone more. If you look at their kind of full roster, it's almost just guys with tremendous size. And Redeman is kind of the one that stands out. That's not super tall, but he has that like really nice flat approach angle. So that's kind of like what allows him to get by. And like they're really good also refining off speeds with his changeup. So certainly, like if you want to look at the fastball and the breaking profile and breaking ball profile and say that there is a lot of work to be done there, then certainly I'd say every team could probably go for it. And he's the kind of guy, just like with college pitching, especially if you've had like a somewhat like significant injury, like I think the landing spot can be just about anywhere.
And that's always been you notice it every draft. There's always a college arm that to some varying degree it's an arm injury, or even in this case just arm fatigue, and they end up falling so much farther than you expect them to. With Redeman, do you think that plays a hand in him possibly falling, or do you think, kind of similar to what you said, teams will see more of his overall profile as a back end starter, and that would correlate more to him dropping possibly out of the first round?
I'd say, I would say like late or mid to late 20s feels like the role that or the pick they might go. So if you want to consider that to be falling, maybe. Gotcha. I think it's going to be like around the end of round 1 to like a comp A. Like if he goes, like we heavily debated in prior mocks, is he going to be the prototypical Angels like fast track guy? Like I think that's a little out of the question now. And so if that happens, then awesome for him. I think that might be a little like pretty high than expected. but like Comp A feels very fair for him right now.
Gotcha. Good deal. So one of the more intriguing athletes that was at the combine was Luke Williams. He's a Vanderbilt commit. Talk to me about Luke Williams, because I know JB got some really good video of his batting practice. The word that comes up quite a bit is that he's a twitchy athlete, like just full of twitch. With a guy like Luke Williams and kind of projecting out what he can become, sticking a shortstop to what he can develop power-wise and how the bat handles, where do you see him rising in terms of his stock from this combine?
Yeah, he's a guy for me that's going to be in my mid 30s now. He really showed with the bat in the arm. I didn't get a live look at him running. I believe he was on the list though. But he showed in the BP 55 power, and in the field it looked like a 70 arm. Took reps at both shortstop and center field. I think it looked a little bit more comfortable in center. That's when he looked like really unleashed the power arm. But I'm sure an org is going to try to throw him at short to start. I would too. I don't like it's going to be the path that can create the most value for him. For him, that what's really like holding back from like a first round profile is he also has had like a much more of a like limited like summer like circuit performance, and the bat to ball ability was a little iffy, and it's just being able to project on that is just is something that you're gonna have to take a little bit of a leap of faith on.
Gotcha.
But no, it's power, arm, speed, and those are very, very, very fun tools to dream on. And you're talking about Twitch; he's certainly got it. I believe his athletic data from Super 60 was amongst the best, just from his ability to move quickly. That is the kind of profile that a lot of the smarter orgs look at and think that that we can dream on a guy like this.
It's always interesting to watching prep shortstops rise very quickly right before we get to the draft. Just kind of looking back at last year, I believe Dax Kilby was one of the major, like very late risers, and then he got to A-ball and just tore it up. Do you think, if you had to guess which one of these prep shortstops that are kind of going to go through this late rise into the draft, do you think it would be Williams that would go through that the most, or who would you assume could take that like late first round trajectory and then just take off?
Yeah, so this draft I feel like is really interesting. That there's a lot of candidates to like move to third base. I think there's a lot of bigger athletes in this draft. We touched on Williams. Like I think he could certainly be that. Certainly Maniscalco. I've been a big fan of Archer Horn for a while. I think there's a lot of power. He was a two-way guy for a while though. Certainly I think going to hold up at shortstop to third base. Another guy with a massive arm that can really create some defensive value for himself. More of like a 45 hit tool. I think his swing get a little bit long, but he has some good adjustability as well in that path. And then at the combine showed like 55 to plus power. There's also a couple of other profiles like Taj Marchand, just another like power speed guy. There's a ton of these like really like strong profiles for even like Marchand's another guy that I think can move to third base. He's a little bit bigger, but even for the guys that aren't as big, that they're these smaller guys that just like absolutely like kill the baseball. And finding like those like true bats ball artists, I think is a little bit iffy kind of in this class. And so it might make rarefied air for a guy like Elliot Lassell, who showed definitely a little bit more of a ceiling profile with his power, but he makes really strong bats ball, and he could be kind of like that Dax Kilby strong contact type.
Interesting. Okay, thank you, because I always find that we get so many like late first round prep infielders to some degree, and like you said, a big reasoning is they probably have to move off of the position, but that the bat to ball is typically very strong, and that's where the profile takes a leap. So I want to talk a couple pitchers here, starting with Grayson Willoughby, because I know you got video on him and flashed 100. That's pretty unique. That was a talking point amongst certain very annoying people on Twitter, of course. But I was really intrigued by what you said more about his changeup and that possibly developing into a really good secondary for him. That it kind of just kills the velo off of the fastball. Kind of touch more on Willoughby here.
Yeah, I feel bad for like JB. He basically unleashed a whole culture war in his comments, and it wasn't even like anything that he like said. It was just his like very like no like not like Twitter scout, but like a very like in the moment scouting analysis. They just like quote like characterize his pitch shapes, and it's I think a 500,000 view tweet now. Which is lovely, but yeah, no, you certainly touched on it. The changeup kills about 10 to 15 miles per hour off the fastball. He touched
Really impressive.
100, which was a new high for him. I think that's now 14 prep arms hitting 99 to 100. It is pretty ridiculous, like what we're at now with velocity development. And then he also like threw his slider a lot harder. It was a pitch that in the past was more like 81, 84. Now it's 83, 86. But certainly that it's like a fastball, like very running profile. But it has incredible life. The changeup is parachuting. The slider is getting harder and harder. I have him more in like my like 50s, 60s range, but even for a prep arm, like that's gonna be pretty high.
Absolutely. And this is from what I've seen, like there's some really, really, really intriguing prep arms in this draft. If you had to throw, it could be someone that you saw at the combine or just someone that you've scouted quite a bit. Who is your favorite prep arm in this class?
Yeah, so this is a guy that I was talking with JV on the side with, and I think we're gonna be pretty split on him, but I'm a massive fan of Brody Bamila. The velocity I think is pretty undeniable. There are certainly things that can give you a lot to pump brakes on. Obviously, a high school arm surgery is something that's very, very risky. The slider quality or just kind of overall breaking ball quality is very much here or there. It's been, I believe, up to like 86. It's been as low as like mid 70s. It's just kind of hard to like gauge on what the true level is. I would have loved if he had thrown, but I believe his season ended like 2 to 3 weeks ago. So I can get like not like kind of or like shutting down by then. But I'm bearing the lead here. You know, it's sitting 100, touching 102, and it's great extension. Throws from a lower slot, has a flat approach. There's a certain pitcher on the Brewers that does that really well and is like, you know, leading pretty much the side on quality and doing that from the left side. You know, I don't think you can comp him to there right now because the breaking ball quality is just so far behind. But I think it like he's shown command for the fastball. And when he has that rolling, I think that's going to be a pretty unhittable pitch if he can just stay healthy. I think he certainly has a very long career ahead of him as a reliever. Much less, I think, as a potential elite starter.
And that's such an interesting conversation because Nate and I have talked pretty at length about Bumila, and I've always told Nate, I was like, you know, we're one pick before Boston, you know, we can always snag him from you, but the reality is sitting at 21 is AJ Preller, and that seems to be the most mocked pick for the Padres is Bumila, and I'm really intrigued to kind of get your thoughts on a pitcher like him with the off speed kind of developing, with him having a propensity for spin, and then obviously big velocity. What is more important for him to find first? Is it going to be mechanical, and then you kind of build off of that? Because I know things like both a changeup, both any kind of breaking pitch can be pretty tough to get a spin off of if your mechanics aren't consistent, especially on the lower half. Do you think that's going to be a primary focus, or do you think that's something that an organization can kind of pair hand in hand?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's going to be a thing that's, I think, really going to largely decide if he is a pro starter or not. Because the way that, you know, like I like the changeup as it is now, but I think if he doesn't do like a ton of work to it, it's not going to be a very like usable pitch. I mean, it might be like like right now he's sitting like 80% fastball usage, and it might have to remain that if the rest of the profile doesn't take off, and then you can't really live as a starter in that way. So there's going to have to be some sort of whether it's, you know, like kind of unlocking the like he kind of has a little bit of a cross stride. If he can kind of work through that a little bit, like figure out different kind of arm slot to unlock a better feel for a breaking ball. There'll need to be some sort of work there to build it up. But if he does get to there, I think that there's a pretty awesome upside.
And then I've also noticed like lower slot lefties, and obviously watching them throughout the minor leagues, they have a much tougher time developing a changeup. Is that simply just like, does that come down to pronation versus supination, or is it just because that slot is so hard to get the wrist in a way that it needs to go? Obviously, we're with Bumila, it's going to be tough getting that slot to a changeup.
Yeah, I think it is just kind of like that wrist like placement at release. Just it can be a little bit difficult, but we've seen like there are so many like changeup variations now. Like you can switch to a splitter if it's not working. You can switch to a kick change. You can switch. You can switch to like a Vulcan change or something like that. Where I think it's out there somewhere for him to find the grip or the just the kind of the sense of feel that works for him. Yeah. That it can come from somewhere, I think.
And then the last name I want to touch on with you, another pitcher here, Wake Forest commit, Ethan Waxman. He was kind of an interesting shape here. And then two questions for you. When they pitch at the combine, one, do we know what ball they're using? And then two, these pitch shapes like an 18-13, and you had him at 99.99.
That's what's on the board. I'm sorry, my man, but it was 99.99.
Can't round up.
Yeah, no. He's at 100 this spring season, so he's already been there.
So what ball are they using for the combine?
Yeah, so I picked up a ball that was we went on the field and they're hitting. It was like content creators were doing batting practice during then. So they had a foul ball. I walked over, picked that up. We gave it to Flora to do pitch grips, and I still have it with me. It is a college ball. It's a Team USA ball. But
gotcha.
It's a college ball.
Okay.
And yeah, his like it is like kind of have more of a sinker shape. I think it kind of like got a little bit more of like an outlier ride on the fastball there. He was a guy that I had targeted. Actually, I did the majority of my looks were like around like November, December, and I wrote then that like he's sitting 94, 96. He's hit I believe it was 98.9 in a side pen. I was like he could be a profile to rise in velocity, and he did that during the spring season. I like his changeup too. It's also very much of like that running tumble changeup. Not as like much of a feel difference as Willoughby, but still a really good pitch in my opinion that is set up well by the fastball. And I'd say his like breaking ball profile is a lot more developed if you want to compare the two. But they're both going to be in very similar ranges for me.
And it says here, just kind of reading through the entire rundown that you guys did coming out of the combine, it is a kick change.
Yeah. That was definitely pointed out by JV. He spotted that early, so credit to him.
That's got to take some crazy eyes to spot from a distance away. Okay, so we are going to move into a really fun portion here. With the draft coming up, we are going to look back at now recency bias could definitely play a factor here, but we're going to look back at what might just go down as one of the most stacked first rounds of possibly the century as we progress through the years here. We're going to look at the 2024 first round, and we are going to redraft. Now, Will, you being our guest and me being a Guardians fan, I am going to give you the first pick and completely remove my bias entirely here. You said you had already done a fair amount of prep for this. Is the pick as easy as Connor Griffin here, or is it Weatherholt? And do you think when you're doing something like a redraft, you have to put your mind into that of the team, or do you kind of go with who's performing the best?
Yeah, so I certainly went with like who's like performing the best. I just kind of did it for fun on the side during the off season, looking for something to do draft wise. And I was going through all my old drafts and was redrafting. So a lot of my like redraft was built off then. And then the last couple of days, I've just kind of reordered everything to make sure it's like 2026 accurate. But when I'm going off a redraft, I'm just kind of going off like what has the value been? Kind of like, am I right? Am I wrong?
Yep.
What I'm not really looking into like why, even though that will tell me a lot. But just kind of it was a very quick quick exercise for me. Just looking at like who actually is the best. And for me, it was still Connor Griffin. It hasn't been like the most incredible showing for him at the upper level, but you haven't really been given a reason not to believe anymore.
Absolutely.
And from what he's shown in 2025, I think it's still the number one profile.
Yeah, and that's always the question is with him being so young, how good Weatherholt would have to be as a rookie to basically make you say, I still want that guy. And even if he isn't playing a premium position compared to Griffin, who is playing shortstop, possibly still in line to get center field reps at some point. I know he's been banged up, but that was a pretty easy pick for you still.
Yeah. Honestly, my number 2 would be Nick Kurtz too. But I would still go Connor Griffin 1. Like, I think you want to talk about the age. I mean, like I'm kind of going off like a WAR projection standpoint. He's going to have so many years to build it up over everyone else.
Absolutely.
That it's pretty. I think he's pretty settled as the number 1 for me right now.
All right, Nate, we're kicking it over to you for the second pick. Now, Will, is it easy?
But it is not going to be JJ Weatherholt. It's going to be Nick Kurtz. Just the sheer value that you get out of the bat that Kurtz has with the on-base ability of him. I wrote about Yordan Alvarez a few days ago on the daily sheet, and I touched on the fact that he's vying for the Triple Crown in the AL, and it feels like every position that he has a lead in, Kurtz is second, or he's got the first place spot there. So it feels like Kurtz is one of, if not the best bats in baseball. And it's so crazy to say, given how young he is and how new he is to the league, but he really is just a formidable bat, and he's just going to continue to put up insane numbers for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, he's had a crazy showing these first 2 seasons, and the funny part is we're now taking him out of Sacramento's AAA ballpark and putting him into Cincinnati's Major League AAA ballpark, and we're getting to do that now with Nick Kurtz and just basically go break every record you could possibly break. So that's really fun here.
Yeah, for me, he really shows as like a guy that like at some point like you do have to kind of throw out like bats ball worry. I believe it's one of the lower whiff rates in the league, but when you're that size, we have that much power. When you have that ability to pull in the air, you just have to make contact, and it goes over the fence. I mean, he had that one cup of coffee with the A's that was a little bit bad, then he got hurt, and ever since he's come back, I mean, it's like if you plot out his last like 162 games, it's like 50 homers. Like he might just be Jason Giambi all over again.
And that's the funny thing is I've seen him compared to 2 first basemen, and it is just like astronomical expectations. It has been Giambi and it's been Jim Thome, and both of them are guys that struck out a ton, but they still got to their power, hit 280 to 300, specifically Thome. And I'm like, the fact that we can even say that is a comparison for Kurtz 2 years in is just, it's unbelievable. And yeah, I think you can't even go wrong, even if he is a first baseman, just in terms of longevity, projecting out how long that career could go. He is going to accrue value at an enormous level. And now I get the Rockies. This should be fun. Okay. This is like, take the teams off the board. I'm like, yeah, Chase Burns, guys, Cy Young running. And now
I would.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is I think I'm still going to go Burns. But I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I think I'm going to take Weatherholt. And the reason that I want to take Weatherholt is we have seen so many players play in Coors and play both in this division against the gauntlet of teams that the Rockies have to go up against through these years of ineptitude and struggle since they got rid of Arenado and all of their big players from that 18 run that they put together. But you put Weatherholt's defensive ability, which is extremely high, and his ability just to kind of turn and burn on just about anything he gets in the zone. He in Coors would probably make for one of the more intriguing middle infielders in all of baseball. So I'm going to lock him in. But I am realizing that what I'm doing is giving the Athletics a chance to take a bona fide ace here. So Will, I'll kick it over here to you for the Athletics.
Yeah, you made that job a lot easier for me because I'm not super split on whether Holt versus Bazzana still. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very easily saying that Chase Burns is better than both of them. So I'll slam dunk that. It's arguable. No, I'm not totally freshed up on like what their current run values are, but I think it could be up to double plus fastball slider with a pretty good command, and he still has like a good changeup and curveball to go with it. It certainly talks about ace upside. I mean, he's performing like an ace right now.
I want to double check something super quick. I looked at this the other day, and it's so interesting because earlier in the season he was kind of flashing this like, oh wow, he might be getting to like a death ball shape in his slider, and now it's still it's still a little more verty, and I think obviously his arm angle plays such a part, but nobody's touching that pitch right now at all. He is one of the more unhittable arms. And I think if he were in the American League, we would have like an all-time race for the Cy Young right now with him and Schlittler. But him being in the National League, he's like comfortably like third or fourth place right now. Just ridiculous what is going on in the NL this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nate, what do we got here for the White Sox? This pick, by the way, was Hagen Smith.
Definitely not going to be Hagen Smith.
It's not going to be Hagen Smith.
Not going to be Hagen Smith. And we haven't mentioned him yet. I think you're going to be pretty happy that he's going to fall to you because I'm not going to take Travis Bazzana, but I think I'm going to go with Jock here. It pains me to draft a Gator as a Florida State Seminole graduate. And just back to back, just great bats. I mean, at what point at the very least, you can have a first base backup, but I mean, he's got a great arm. The fielding isn't great at this point, but the arm value is insane. He's got great arm strength. So you kind of got to just live with it in the right field position as for now, but he's always going to have that first base backup, and the bat is just crazy. I mean, he's just been on a tear recently. I'd have to pull up his stats on this month, but I know he's vying for hitter of the month at this point. He's just been absolutely, it feels like every other day I look and he's gone yard again. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Jock here at this position.
Yeah, for me, I feel like he's the guy that is very much like held up to his like pre-draft profile, where people thought he'd be very streaky because of the insane chase rates that he had going into it, and I'm not sure if the chase rate has like held up to that like same like almost like first percentile amount, but I know he has been very streaky. Right now it's a very hot streak. It's a very continued hot streak, so hopefully it's a little bit more signal than it is streakiness. But he's a guy for me that I feel like everyone kind of like nailed going in, and everyone nailed him at the top, and he's been one of the best.
Yeah, I will say the chase and whiff are still kind of there. He's at just under 35% on the chase and a little over 30 on the whiff. So it's definitely still something to be very wary about. But that also does factor in that he did start pretty slow, and he's since recently just caught fire. So it's a little bit of a up and down, kind of finding the median there at this point.
Yeah, and I think at Florida it was like chases in like I know his sophomore season it was in the mid 40s, and it was like, okay, like it's definitely something that you're gonna have to work on. But I think chase rate is something that I think you can be a little bit like less over fixated with versus like bat to ball ability, because that's certainly something like swing decisions that is starting to get really worked on at different pro levels.
I'm kind of fascinated by what he has done as a profile too, and now we would have him going to the White Sox, and like what butterfly effect would that cause with him probably projecting more first base in that system? Would they even go after Murakami? And I think that's such a fascinating butterfly effect. It's always my favorite part of doing this exercise is getting to look at how something like plucking away Hagen Smith, who has not really lived up to the top 5 billing, and just immediately plugging in someone like Cags would do here. And I think the White Sox with Caglione right now would be a monster, and kind of glad that did not happen. So I'm going to pivot here. There's some really, really, really interesting players who have not debuted yet. And I'm looking at them, and I continue to look at them, but I think I'm going to take Yasevich with the Royals. I think Yasevich, it was between Yeah, this is a tough call because like Cam Smith's right there, Braden Montgomery's right there, and then Benj and Savage go back to back, and that was right where my debate was between Benj and Savage, and I'm gonna go Savage, and maybe I'm buying too far in on what he did in the postseason and what he showed at the end of last season, but just the uniqueness of what he presents and having such an outlier offering like his splitter, I think that he can become one of the more especially for a team like Kansas City that has just been dying for these top end arms. I think he could slot in easily as a 1 or a 2 in Kansas City, and that would probably change the trajectory of what they look pitching wise, which is an area they've probably needed the most help in. Obviously, an aging Lugo, and then even Walker's been solid, but they are missing kind of a backbone young piece to a rotation with Reagan's constantly being on the injured list. I think Savage provides that, and at the very least helps raise the floor of a team that looks like they're kind of falling out of favor with what looked like to be a promising window.
All right, so I think that'll send it back to me for
Yes.
7th. This is a tough one. I think I'm, do I just want to pull the trigger on Bazana? He was the guy that was number 1 for me coming into the year. He's down to 7. I guess if I would have vouched for number 1, I'm probably getting fired. Which is the very humbling feeling of looking back at all these redrafts as you get to see how wrong you are to various degrees. Part of me doesn't want to. I think I might go with Ryan Sloan, the Mariners right-hander who went in the second round. He got paid like a first rounder, so doesn't really count as a second rounder. But I think there is still the potential for 3+ pitches. I really like his fastball splitter slider combo. The slider was pretty deep. I know coming into his pro career, and the Mariners done a tremendous job of harnessing it. Splitters, I think, are always just kind of a weird pitch for me to evaluate because I think it's very like hit or miss on whether you can command it or not. But they've certainly helped out with that, and the fastball is really tremendous. I know he has a really flat angle or flat approach angle. Good right through the zone. It's mid to upper 90s heat. No, I know Cade Anderson has gotten a lot of love. He probably should have been promoted like last month. I think they'll have to wait till after the All-Star break now. That'll be a kind of a little weird time to pull a trigger. But I think Ryan Sloan might be like just as good, if not better. It's pretty insane to think about this team that's like struggling to deal. I wouldn't say struggling, but like has this issue of like how do we deal with all these arms about to have 2 more come up the chain. Like Sloan's probably not till next year, but still like an insane amount of depth that they have at their disposal.
It's a good problem for them to have too, because of just how disappointing the offense has continued to be. They sit right around 500. I think they're a game under 500 right now after losing 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. But they have just an embarrassment of riches in their rotation. But an aging Castillo is probably going to force their hand on getting one of these guys up. But now Ryan Sloan goes to the St. Louis Cardinals, who need arms in the worst way. But I think that might be the most interesting pick so far of this top 7, because you have like top of the rotation potential here. I'm really high on Sloan. I put a 60 on him going into this season, and then he proceeded to work on his sinker, add a cutter. So now he's fully advanced this repertoire, and you put that in the Cardinals system with essentially a teardown that they've gone through. I think he becomes easily one of the hottest commodities of any prospect in baseball. Nate, that kicks it over to you for, let me check here.
Picking the Angels.
You'd be the Angels. Can you save the Angels?
Can I save the Angels? I don't know if anybody can save the Angels. That's a pretty difficult question, pretty difficult task. But man, I don't know if I can pass on Bazana here, letting him fall all the way to 8 and then letting him slip to 9 as well. See, that's difficult.
I will say, if you don't pick him, I'm not picking him. I have one more arm I like just a little bit more.
Just a little bit more. See, that brings me to my next question is, so are we including second round, or are we just doing like a shuffling of chairs for the first round?
Whomever you want, because Sloan was...
If I want to pick whoever I want, I'm going to take the guy who was in the league within a year, and I'm going to go with Peyton Tolle.
Now we're talking. That's exactly who I was going to go with.
I gotta go with my guy Tolle here. in a little bit of an Angels mold, they're going to take guys that they can realistically fast track to the bigs with their, as we mentioned before, their irresponsible handling of prospects in their higher picks. It totally just has some unreal outlier extension. I mean, he's got 3 fastballs he can work with. He's got the 4-seam, the sinker, and the cutter. And going into this year, he had pretty exclusively relied on those offerings with a little bit less on the breaking offerings and the changeup. I don't know if the Angels can be trusted to sort of balance out that arsenal usage a little more and get him a little bit leading off the fastball and kind of mix in those breaker offerings there. But I think that the pure upside that he's got, I got to go with Tolley at this spot.
And Tolley got up super quick with Boston, but you at least felt like they gave him time to work on the things that weren't quite there, flesh out his arsenal. Do we actually believe the Angels would give him room to breathe, or do you think they would just throw him in the bullpen and go from there?
Oh, yeah, he might be closer day one, honestly. They might just say, hey, guess what?
I mean,
you're closing out every 6 days, and you know what? We're not going to have you a lead with for very much, so we're just going to give you the outings anyway. Guess what? You get the 7th inning. We're down 5. Figure it out.
And you were saying, Will?
Yeah, I mean, they've already done it with everyone else. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Why not him?
Yeah, an arm that explosive, I really don't know if they could possibly. Basically, they wouldn't know how to handle themselves, and I think that's such an underrated. Just to shift really quickly to this year's draft, an underrated thing that happened within the last week is them basically moving on and finally taking that next step, getting rid of their general manager and moving into what seems to be like this really weird, never-ending cycle of Artie knows best. Do we expect anything to change here? Do we expect them to bring in the right people? How are we feeling about the Angels going into this draft?
I think going into the draft, I don't know if much is going to change. It'll probably be a very scouting director-led pick. I mean, maybe the final say is going to have a different approval. It's probably going to have like no approval. It's probably just going to be up to the scouting director now to make up that pick. I mean, there's a very, very, very fresh reaction that happened like 3 to 4 days ago. I feel like it's really hard to get a read on them if they're going to continue in their way now, or if they're going to kind of have that freedom to go with something else. But it's something that I've been wanting to look into once this draft cycle kind of completes to see like really like how has it worked for them. I don't think it really has. And we'll see if now is the time to break from it. We kind of just saw it last year with the Nationals making a change a week before they had the number 1 pick. Everyone kind of nailed down a Boris guy just because of that relationship that Mike Rizzo had with them, and so that would have been like an Ethan Holiday or I believe a Cade Anderson. But they went against the grain with the interim taking Eli Willits, and whether you have Willits or Cade Anderson higher, I think I would still put Anderson higher. But like I think it's like a close enough toss up where like it's certainly a better pick than Ethan Holiday.
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting part is someone had put out on Twitter the credibility to it still up for debate, but it was that the Angels were very much ready to jump on Willits at 2, and then he didn't fall to them, and they had no backup plan and like panic picked Bremner. And it's the most Angel. It's so believable because of the team that it is and the organization that it is. But just that would I think the Nationals ended up just hitting a home run right there. Like Willits has been tremendous this season. Obviously Anderson has been great too, but getting that kind of upside possibly every day at a premium position, it has such an innumerable weight to an organization trying to kind of build from the ground up again with the Nationals. Oh, and speaking of, they are after my pick here. The Pirates, I think I'm gonna pull the trigger here, and I'm gonna go Bazana. And how interesting that flip is for Griffin to go 1 to Cleveland and Bazana to go at 9 to the Pirates. Just you're flipping the top prep player in this draft for the quote unquote most pro ready player coming into that class. That changes probably a lot for Pittsburgh, possibly not getting Brandon Lau moving forward, but like that's neither here nor there. I think that's an interesting pick though for the Pirates, as Bazana has such unique feel to get to his pull side and elevate the ball, that is a stadium just built to kind of cater to his needs. I think more so than maybe even Cleveland. I think Cleveland can get some really weird days with the wind, whereas PNC just seems to always flow out to the river. Bazana in Pittsburgh, I think, would be such a unique and valuable piece to add to Skeens and what they're trying to build there right now. Obviously, probably landed with the best overall pick in this draft regardless, if we weren't redrafting here. But I think Bazana would be a pretty solid consolation prize for them here.
Yeah, and I haven't jumped off on too far. I think if the Pirates had Bazana instead of Connor Griffin, it'd be a different outlook. But I don't think it'd be total or miraculously different. Like you mentioned, the slight indoors moment, maybe they acquire Luis Robert instead of Brandon Lau. That probably has a different outcome even there. But I don't think Bazana is totally fallen off the track that far where you're going, oh man, we got Bazana now. I think you're still pretty happy if you're Pittsburgh absolutely. That you have him. You're just not ecstatic.
Mm. And the power has been the only thing that I've seen so far from Bazana that hasn't immediately translated. In fact, it's definitely lower. The bat speed is a lot lower than I anticipated it being at this level, but yet he's still finding ways to impact the game. Defensively, I think was the one thing that I had pretty well nailed down on him, that he is going to really struggle laterally. I don't know if it's just an ability to bend, but he really struggles to kind of get down to balls, especially moving to his left. But even still, he has provided value to Cleveland, which I think he would provide to Pittsburgh now in a spot in the order where he would probably be a little bit more protected, obviously with Ramirez being injured right now, and then just the cavalcade of rookies and minor league vets that Cleveland has signed. So yeah, I definitely think that would be a really fun landing spot, would be Pittsburgh. And then we are going to kick it over to you for the next pick, which is the Nationals, as they had the number one pick the year after. So what did the Nationals do at 10? Is it still Seaver King? Do you believe in the bounce back?
I've been having my tongue in my cheek ever since my Sloan pick because UCL, or I'm not sure if it's UCL surgery, but elbow surgery be darned. I'm gonna go on a technicality, and I'm taking Dax Whitney. Cut and ride fastball. No, we're doing it. We're doing it. Yes, we are.
You know what? This is fair. This is fair.
He was very much out there. He had a $4 million price tag. He was out there to be taken. Just was not met. The Washington Nationals are bringing home Dax Whitney. He arguably might be better than Ryan Sloan. Touching 101 before he went down. Has a massive curveball. Has a strong feel. For his slider that gets up to 20 inches of break. It's very forward, distinct movement profiles that he has, fringe command for it all, but he has the body control and the strength to improve on that. And if he does, it is total ace upside. He was a guy that he's on my early 2027 board is number one for the college players. Had he stayed healthy and had he shown a little bit more command, he could be a 70 pitcher, I think. He's not going to get that opportunity now, but it would have been out there for him.
I love this pick. This just threw an entire wrench into my entire thought process for this first round. So that's our first.
There aren't really a ton of other guys though that you could do this. I think there's one, but it wouldn't have been that great of a value pick.
And that's kind of the interesting part about this class is it's the headliners have such name value right now. It's a guy like Whitney who had an unusual set of circumstances with the injury that kind of pushed him out. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He had such a high price tag coming into that class. And I think there's still some more fun prep arms to get to as we get to here to the next 10 picks. So we're going to pick up the pace just a touch here, and we're going to go lightning round here. So Nate, you are at 11 with the Tigers. Who you going, and can you do it in 20 seconds?
I can do it in 20 seconds, but I might use 15 or 20 of them to kind of decide because I'm back and forth. I got two guys I'm looking at right now. One is in the league right now, Florida State alumni, Cam Smith, and the other just recently got promoted, who I think is possibly a top 10 prospect in the sport, and his name is Theo Gillen. And I don't know. It's pretty tough. I don't think Gillen's going to get back to me once I get back to my pick here. I know we're not drafting like 3 teams here, but I think I gotta go with Cam Smith purely on. I mean, the defense has been ridiculous. He's as a right fielder, he's been up there on the top for the outs above average or defensive run save, whatever metric you prefer defensively. He's been very standout defensively. The sprint speed is elite, and the bat hasn't been there yet. But one thing that I keep coming back to is the bat speed. He's got an average bat speed of 77.1 miles an hour. And especially as if you can sort of bring up that pull side power in a park like Houston with the Crawford boxes there, you can with the power that he's got, you can easily have 20 to 25 plus home runs a year. I think that he is going to come around here. He's going to be a very valuable bat for the Astros or for whoever. Who am I picking here with?
You
11 Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
Detroit. That might be a little more difficult with the hitting in Comerica there, but with the
they move the walls
pure size of the outfield there, that definitely plays up more with his defensive ability in that outfield. So that does increase his value, I'd say, in that spot. I don't know if he did coming into school. He was a shortstop. He got moved over to third because we had Lodis there, and we didn't really have any other viable third base options. So he really stuck there in his college days. I'm not sure if he'll end up making that switch back to the infield. Maybe who knows? Maybe they let go of Pena here in the next year or two, and they try to make the transition over to shortstop. So he's uber talented, very athletic. It's definitely a pick that I hope I don't regret passing on Gillen, but it is a very talented pick. I'm very happy to get him here at the 11th spot.
So I'm going to make the obvious pick, and then I'm going to ask, like, did we possibly forget about him earlier, or am I just lucky to have him fall into my lap at 12? I'm going to take Carson Bench and put him in Boston. And I believe in Bench. I think he was the pick going into this season as he got promoted for opening day. I was like, this is a really interesting decision. What can really come of this? And like, he had a slow start, and then he really turned it around, had a really good end half of May into June. And I still very much believe in Bench. We don't have to worry about the Mets stigma here anymore, which I can't believe that's even still a thing. But I'm going to lock in Bench in Boston. And yeah, we're just going to clog the outfield even more in Boston. Trade Duran. That's what this 2024 first round pick is saying.
So are you packaging Bench to Chicago for Crochet there, or what's the scenario there?
Now that's such an interesting part of this too, isn't it? Because now Kaggs is going to the White Sox, so they could possibly slot him in corner outfield, and then you add Bench. That's really interesting. I'm gonna, you know what, just for fun, I'm gonna say yeah, sure, why not? So now we move on to
personally preferred if we traded Christian Campbell, but hindsight is always 2020 on that area. But
so now we've got Will picking for the Giants, and basically this is the last. I do believe this is the last. It was last year the last first round before Posey took over.
Yeah, this was still a Farhan pick. James Gibbs.
Yep.
No, Farhan's picks weren't that bad.
Yep.
I'll say that. Misunderstood.
Yes.
I'll say this. So this is the part where, just from like head deep in the college game, I don't really pay attention to minor league levels. I just kind of like see he's performing or not. So I'm going to take Theo Gillen. I know he's rising up everywhere. I know he's got I think 12 bombs and 30 steals. I don't know what he's doing differently. I know he's doing stuff differently. I know it's good. So I'm going to say value play. I know he's rising. I'll take him.
Yeah, he was. Of course, he falls to the Rays. They just have this embarrassment of riches that they continue to get. They take more swing. We actually touched on this. I think it was last week or the week before, that they take so many swings on prep guys where they end up picking, and they almost always seem to pan out more than any other organization. I think the Brewers and the Dodgers have such unique international scouting and development abilities, whereas it feels like the Rays have both that, and then their prep development is just crazy. And I think Gillen is another one, and now he goes to the Giants, and he kind of has to get into this Buster Posey now with their development system. Do you think that stunts his development comparatively to where he would be at now, or do you think this would still be a massive hit for the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more just by factor of like leaving the Rays or like a similar like strong developing org. Now, obviously, the minor league or just the overall like team quality of the Giants has fallen off, but they could be right back on the rise soon. They have those two younger shortstops are Hernandez and Joshua, that are kind of booming their farm system to the top. They're about to have the 4th overall pick. They have dreams of it being Rock. I don't know if it'll be him, but I think it'll be someone really good. They're not going to pick high next year, even though they're awful. They're going to be a lottery penalized team.
Yep.
But they're still going to have a 10th pick like next year or around there, and it's going to be a good player. And so like maybe they can show a stronger development, but certainly leaving the Rays for the Giants isn't what you want.
Yeah, but for the Giants though, this is like a massive boost to a farm system that needs it. In terms of bats, they now just get to add him to what they have is this kind of this stranglehold onto really, really fun, really good teenage infield prospects, and now you get to add another prep bat to that. So Nate, we're kicking it over to you for the Cubs. Quickly here, it's definitely Pijo Orlando, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I know the pick that you were alluding to earlier about the guy that we may have forgotten, and I had to scroll down a little bit to find them here, but I think I'm going to go with Mr. Gage Jump for my pick here for the Cubs, who was drafted here he's drafted in the 73rd pick in the comp balance B round, and Jump has really come onto the stage really well here for the A's. It's been a fascinating watch. He's almost entirely limiting barrels at all, only at a 2.2% barrel rate. The stuff's been great. He's pitching to a sub-1 whip and flirting with a sub-2 ERA. The Cubs have been fighting here to really find an ace in these past few years. It's definitely something that they are searching for overall. I think Jump would be a very valuable addition to that roster there, especially considering that they had Cam Smith, traded him for Kyle Tucker, and then lost him for nothing. I believe they did get a comp pick for losing him. I'm not 100% sure, but Jump would be definitely my pick here. Great value for the organization.
Very definitely. All right, so going to kind of fly through this here a little bit. Picking for the Mariners next, they took Cincha here. I don't think we would take Cincha here. I think we would move more probably towards a bat, if just having the hindsight of the Mariners here. I think if we are looking here, I'm probably going to take the biggest swing here in terms of how far down they got picked. I'm going to take Sam Antonacci here. He went 140th overall in this draft, and I thought by the time he was getting ready to get called up, he was a top 50 prospect in the sport. Antonacci, I think, is just kind of been a set and forget cornerstone to the infield for what has been this surging White Sox team. I think this would be just a massive, massive need for a Seattle offense that, again, has just done nothing but underwhelm. Obviously, this season now, which has been his rookie year. So just kind of lining up timelines, he would provide such an immediate spark for them. I still think there might be another White Sox pick here that I possibly am higher on. He's just still a bit of ways away. So I'm going to go Antonacci here, just kind of play more high floor upside rather than like just reaching all the way for a ceiling here.
Okay, it's coming back to me for 15 or 16.
Yes, we are 16 for the Marlins.
Permission to be that guy again?
Absolutely.
All right, then we'll be going with Brendan Lawson, the Canadian prep down in Florida. I know Nate hates this pick, but he enjoys the baseball. And he makes really good contact too. You want to talk about like I don't know if it's like Kurtz-like power, but he's hit a ball 496 feet last year. Really gets to the pull side well, barrels very well, lifts very well. It's probably going to be him, Whitney, and Dylan Stewart if preps are allowed next year in the top 3. We have a full season to determine it, but yeah, I'm going Brendan Lawson.
Yeah, hopefully for their sake, that's where we're at next year, is that he can be one of the top 2 or 3 picks off the board. Love that pick. He definitely was someone I was looking at, just was not familiar enough with him to take him here. So Nate, we kick it back over to you for 17, going Brewers. And quickly, are they still taking Braylon Payne?
No, I don't have them taking Payne.
That's such an interesting one too, because he has been very, very good this year. He has really had a breakout season.
Man, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do want to go.
It's definitely dropping off. I would say great job by us because we got the top 13, 14, like in 14 picks for me. But we're definitely taking shots now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what?
That's where I'm at as well.
I think I'm going to go off the board a little bit, and I'm going to go with on-base machine Mike Sirota here.
Love it.
Yeah, he would have been 17th for me, so just in line.
Mm-hmm. I have him and another guy circled here, so yeah, I really like that pick. 18, back to me. Yes, we are at the Rays. Okay, I almost feel like I have to take a prep somebody.
You have to take a prep. You're not allowed to take.
I'm putting my mind in line here with the Rays. Who would they take? They love
take the White Sox guy you mentioned earlier.
I very well might, but they also like athletic movers on the mound, who I think Cleveland has kind of stolen what they love in a prep arm a little bit from the Rays in terms of athletic movers, capable command, just someone with really good floor upside. But man, this is really getting tough here. Whew. Yeah, I think I'll bite the bullet. I'll go Bonnemer here. I think they would take Caleb Bonnemer. That feels like a Rays pick, especially coming up through. I think the only thing that keeps him out of the middle infield right now is, one, if he continues to build physically, he's clearly set for third base. I think the arm definitely plays on the left side of the infield, though. Chicago is a way more interesting dynamic in terms of what they need to do to basically, especially if we're all in agreement here, we think they take Chalowski at 1. What that creates depth-wise with Billy Carlson, with Bonnemer, all the way up through the organization. But I think Bonnemer to the Rays gives them tremendous upside, and I think he would be able to possibly either get up to the major league level, take some pressure off of Caminero so he doesn't have to play defense every day when it's definitely his weak point, or he could stick up the middle, second base, third base. There's a lot of possibilities here with Bonnemer. I think the power is real. The athleticism is very, very good. He actually made towards the tail end. He was, when I was putting together my preseason 2020 list, he was someone I watched late. I was like, this feels like recency bias, but I got to have him here. And I think he's proving me right now. So I feel like that's a good pick.
Okay, so then it's back to me with Mets at 19, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna take. I think one last guy to scoop up kind of in this top area is Ryan Waldschmidt. I think a very professional hitter. Kind of was run into, I feel like, some whiff issues. Definitely showed it, leading to his demotion. But above average power, showed a really good arm. I think he's been a very solid defender. Was kind of hidden at Kentucky as a left fielder, but I think he has a lot more versatility in outfield than that. And if the bat to ball can be like all right and not like the showing that he was in his brief stint in the big leagues, I think it's a really like above average good profile to scoop up him in this mid to late first round.
Absolutely. We had actually talked about Waldschmidt, comparing and contrasting him and Bazana a little bit, like these high floor professional at bats who I think Waldschmidt kind of showcases a little bit more across his entire athletic repertoire, though Bazana is more of a base stealer. But again, Waldschmidt is just like another one of those guys, comes in, has the capability of being this immediate floor raiser for any team he goes to, which a team like the Mets sorely need right now. Nate, you are going to Canada, and you are picking for the Blue Jays with Trey Savage not on the board. He is in Kansas City. So where are you going here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach into a couple of guys that were previously drafted in the first round. I'm gonna go with Seaver King here. He's had a bit of a resurgence this year, playing a lot better than he was last year. Kind of improving some of that stock that he sort of lost last year. It's a great bat to ball profile, like the speed that he's got in this. The max EV, it's a little something to be left on the bone there, but I mean it's a player that plays real well in Toronto. It's going to be great bat to ball. Going to be great defense to replace with Bichette gone, and they've had a bit of a hole there since. So Seaver King here, he's in AAA right now, so he's on the cusp there of the making his big league debut. Should be late this year, if not out of spring training next year. So it'll be right there to slot into that lineup.
He's been such an interesting change of approach. He's gone from more swing happy to cutting his swing rate down by close to 13%. Just becoming a little bit more selective at the plate has done wonders for his just optimizing his swing, and his batted ball capability, I think, is just taken off this year. Now I get to go over to the Twins. I cannot believe I'm about to put Guardian on the Twins, but I think this is you kind of look at Minnesota, and they tend to have bats in the system, never enough arms. And I kind of feel like this is a chance to bolster their arms here because they go Kalen Culpepper here. But I'm gonna flip that, and I'm going to give them Braylon Doughty. I think they get Doughty here. I think we do this in a year's time. Doughty probably goes 5 picks higher than this. I'm super high on him. Selfless Plug just did a huge piece on him for the site. And I think he is just one of the most gifted athletic movers, despite being only 6 foot tall. I think he has the ability to just mesh every last bit of his athleticism with his command. His fastball has been really good this season. It's kind of in and around 30% whiff rates. The curveball, he is running at or just above 3,000 RPMs on a consistent basis. It has been a absolute monster of a pitch. He's found a slider, and he's been able to give it depth that he was struggling to find earlier in the season from his cutter. I think this is one of the absolute best guys that you could get at this spot here. I think he could be mid to back of the rotation here for Minnesota.
Okay, I'm going back up. 22.
Yes.
I'm gonna still believe in Bryce Rayner. I don't think it's been that big of a fall off. I think it's just been not healthy.
Yep.
Kind of recalibrating himself back into, or not even back into getting himself calibrated to pro ball. He was a guy. When we're talking on draft day in 2024, was like a very similar profile to Connor Griffin. And like it's kind of fallen, or it's kind of crazy to see how far he's fallen off. He was taking just 2 picks behind him, but it looks like he's starting to turn around. I know he has had gone off to cold start. It's a little bit of a visual kind of hard stance to buy into, but the power is certainly there. I think he's a strong defender. And at 22, I'll take a shot on it on the turnaround happening.
I am debating something here, Nate. I'm really curious to see if you do the eliminating for me. Rayner is someone that I'm really high on, and I'm like kind of kicking myself I didn't take him a handful of picks ago. That was a really good pick. I got to scroll up and look further back up the board where we were at. Nate, where are you going with this one for the Dodgers?
The Dodgers, so 23 for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to go to the
high.
guy who was taken the first round here. Alluded to him a little bit earlier. I'm going to go with Braden Montgomery, who was he fell to the Red Sox in his draft. Possibly would have gone a lot higher if he hadn't. I believe he broke his leg or a similar injury. It was I know it was a leg injury in the College World Series for Texas A&M, and that caused his drop there. Otherwise, he probably would have firmly been a top 10 pick. I love the power here. Supreme athlete. He just mashing in the minors. He was hitting 300 all year long, running 400 plus OBPs, sitting around 550 for the slug. So the power is definitely there. He's hit a bit of a snag since the call up, but I mean that's to be expected. I mean he's only 23 years old here, coming into a very young lineup, so there's not much veteran guidance to lean back on. So it's kind of just be a thing where you're kind of learning as you go, which is not the worst thing in the world. It's a very young team, and it's a supreme athlete. I think the Dodgers are going to kind of really do wonders for his development in their system with their ability to develop these athletes in this farm system.
That is such a terrifying premise, putting Braden Montgomery's raw power and into that system. Like I can't even process that they got Braden Montgomery this low in this draft. Like I'm almost mad right now because of course it's the Dodgers. Who else? The Braves here. I think this might be the first time that I stay put, but also Caminiti's struggles to get whiffs this year has really, really, really scared me. I think last I checked, it was still low 20% range overall. Just kind of a little iffy on that. Is this, man, this is a tough one. I'm going to go Braylon Payne here. I think this is where Payne lands with the Braves. If there were ever an organization for him to flourish in that isn't the Brewers, it's the Braves. He's had a massive uptick in power this season. It's been more due to him kind of changing his approach, but I also think he's utilizing his lower half so much better this season than he was mostly early on, but also even into last season a bit. He's just somebody that I think if you put him in Atlanta with their roster getting older, he would be able to provide such a unique spark to that roster with his athleticism and ability to kind of just turn on anything at this point in time. The power is for real, and I think he would be a big steal here for Atlanta.
Yeah. All right. 25th. This is the Padres. So I would. Do you want to do what? 2 more picks left, right? Get to 30 about.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, two picks left. I'm looking at like 5 different guys. I think there's one I still want to take a chance on, so I'm gonna take him now because this is the guy that I think I'm the least or I'm the most concerned wouldn't get back to me. A little bit of a downer profile, but Charlie Condon, I think I'm still a little bit in on it. I mean, the raw power is just so immense. It's just so there. I know his bats ball in AAA has really fallen off hard. It was something that was very, very shaky. He had like a weird good season at Georgia where he didn't really make like an elite amount of contact, but was still like I think he had the BB core record for home runs at the time. Just absolutely deposited home runs, and the dream was kind of that it was going to translate to Colorado. Had a struggle adjusting to pro ball, got hurt, but last year it kind of all came back together. I think if you can kind of just bottle that from last year, I think is a pretty good value for the Padres.
Absolutely, that's kind of where I was between taking the prep bat in Payne versus Condon to Atlanta, and I ultimately settled on Payne. I really like that pick. That at this low in the draft, you kind of have to take that swing here. Nate, where are we going?
You know what? I think I'm going to go with who was originally picked one pick before. I'm going to go with Cash Mayfield here for this pick.
The Yankees with Mayfield. Interesting.
Yankees with Mayfield. So he's running a 35% whiff rate, 32.5 CSW. He's been very, very good at limiting the in zone contact. He's only been on a 72.2% for Zcon for this year. His opposing batters, he's holding under 200 at 192 this year. So it's a bat that's very good at limiting hard contact, limiting contact in the zone. He's getting great K numbers. He's over 30% on the year. One thing to worry about, he's at a little just under 11% on the walk rate. So I would like to see him limit that a little bit, but it's definitely a profile that I think the Yankees can maximize on, given that he's 6'4", throwing from the left side. It's one that they are going to have a lot of fun with in that organization. It's a great development program there.
Absolutely. And then now this makes this such an interesting pick for me. And I think, this is So I believe, yeah, we're on the Phillies here. I'm between a couple names here. I don't know who amongst us here is a big Fitzgerald guy. That's definitely someone I'm looking at here. I think I'm going to take a bit more of a swing than that. Someone that I had heard quite a lot about moving into this season in the off season, and I'm going to go with Nathan Flewelling here. At some point, you kind of have to take a bit of a swing at a premium position, and I think at catcher with the Phillies, somebody's got to take over for Real Muto eventually. I think this would be a really fun place to start. I believe Flewelling has kind of risen into a lot of the back ends of top 100s here recently, especially coming off the heels of last season into the early part of this season. I kind of like what he provides behind the plate, and I think the bat does enough to kind of match it. There's some really interesting raw power there that I would like to see. Hopefully, the Phillies get into. Again, you're moving someone off the Rays into another system. It's kind of is what it is. But I think that would be a big home run pick here for the Phillies, and I definitely think I would prefer that to Dante Nori here.
Definitely. And then I'm up 28th to the Astros. I'm thinking we taking Walker Yannick. I'm down to 4 guys pretty much now. And so for my last pick, it's kind of who do I want to just stuff in there. I'm fans of Joshua Crota-Grauer. I know you guys were just talking about him as I got on. Would be very timely. I'm still kind of a fan of Malcolm Moore, the Stanford catcher who went to the Rangers. Kind of a lower ceiling though. I could be that guy again and go Chris Lavonis or Tyler Bell, but I think I'm going to be even more. Yeah, I could be even more that guy. I think I'm going to went 611th. Give me Eric Hartman, 20th rounder. And
Beautiful
in 2024. My dynasty snag of the year. 19 home runs, 29 steals in high A. I don't really know what they're waiting on. Some double A. I feel like he's kind of hit like who he is at high A. It's always, I think, just gonna be a little bit more whiff than you love from a top guy, but it's double plus speed. I think it's plus power, and center field defense is pretty good for 30th.
Yeah, getting those kinds of tools at the back end of the first round is terrific. Those kinds of tools in the 20th round is insane. Like that is just some ridiculous kind of I don't even want to say luck, because that has just always been a really, really good bat scouting organization with the Braves. They have their misses, but they have some just monumental hits.
Yeah, and I mean, like they paid him like a 4th, 5th rounder, so it wasn't like a true 20th rounder. But still, I mean, to be able to round your signing class together, to be able to scoop him up still is pretty impressive.
Absolutely. All right, Nate, we've got 1 pick left. You have 29. I have 30. And we've got, of course, Matt Thompson here. As we are hitting the 2-hour mark, just say what's up to, pretty important member of Prospects Live here.
Man.
Nate, where are we going?
I think I got to do it. I got to take the AAA homer leader. I'm going to go with Mr. James Tibbs with this pick. I mean, he's just absolutely buried in that Dodgers system right now behind the embarrassment of riches in the outfield. But that bat's going to play somewhere. I mean, I can't name many organizations he wouldn't already be up in the bigs for. I mean, what more does he have to prove in AAA at this point? It feels like every night I'm seeing a tweet with James Tibbs has left the yard again, and Craig Breslow is still the worst general manager in baseball, and it kind of just hurts my soul a little bit. But
personal so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it really just hurts my soul. It's a great power profile, and then on top of that, he's running a 17% walk rate. The K's are a little high, he's hovering around 26%, and the Z-Con's a little concerning as well. But I mean, if you're getting the power that you're getting out of him, and I mean, he still puts up pretty good at bats. He's gonna get you the home runs. You're kind of just gonna have to live with the strikeouts given his profile. The defense isn't great, so you might have to hide him in the outfield there, or maybe give him a try at DH. You can't really stick him at first. He's not big enough for first base. I mean, he's only 5'11", but the bat definitely does play. He's going to find his way in the lineup somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this last pick is tough. Just on pure value, Fitzgerald is just someone I cannot move off of for some reason. Obviously, his struggles since he's moved up a level have been enough to kind of pull you back a little bit, but man, he's still been so good. I'm going to go back up. We're going to take a picture. He is going under the knife for Tommy John, which is really unfortunate. But with the very last pick of the first round, the Texas Rangers are going to take Carl Steven. So Steven coming into this season was obviously he's the return for Bieber from Cleveland. Trading a team legend like that puts a little bit of pressure on you. Got to Akron, wasn't as kind of sharp as you had expected him to be. Command was the big calling card. His ability to dominate in the zone was his strong suit, on top of dominant fastball, really good slider, and what looks to be more of like a splitter than like a true changeup in spin and shape. And then he kind of comes into the season, really struggles with the walks, but I continue to question how much of that had to do with his arm injury. He came out first inning of his last start, and then within 5 days, we're getting told he's getting Tommy John. Obviously, that's something that was lingering there for a bit. I'm going to play the upside here with Steven because prior to that, he was coming into the season in a lot of top 100s. I know he was in mine. So we're going to play upside here with Steven and make him the very last selection of this first round. How do you think we did, guys? And do you think there is anybody? I think Hartman's probably, looking at it now, that's my favorite pick here towards the back end. If there was one guy on this that you think should have gotten taken higher, who are we going with?
Yeah,
I think I'd have to go Hartman or either of Will's unsigned picks. If we,
absolutely.
I'd have to go with Hartman probably.
Yeah, that was I did not see that coming, and like you completely won the draft with those. And I think it's important to allow those too, though, because obviously if they're taken with a first round pick, they're going to sign. It's that simple. Obviously that's not 100% guaranteed, but you would kind of expect that to be how that would play out. And my brain never even went there preparing for this, and like that was just an immediate curveball right out of left field, and I thought that was awesome.
I think it makes an interesting dialogue on how high you'd have someone like Dax Whitney go if they are if everybody does know that they're available right away. Because I mean, if you're drafted out of high school, he doesn't get that injury. I mean, with the way pitching is in the modern day, I mean, it feels like everybody's due for at least one big arm injury in their career, so he's probably going to get it regardless. But I mean, is he a top 10, top 5 pick with those tools? Right?
Well, where would you have
Sloan? I had him 10th, so I grabbed him. He probably definitely. I think he goes before Cam Smith. Probably goes right around you, Savage. Maybe before Caglione. I think
that's such
definitely. I think before maybe Bizana. I think anyone higher is getting pretty aggressive. But
yeah. I think 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this are like guys who have obviously Kurtz in another way has locked himself up as not even just like a surefire top 4 pick in this. He's like a perennial all-star at this point now. He's adjusted to his big slump and has come out of it hitting like the best hitter in baseball again, at least in the American League. And then Weatherholt's been great. Griffin would go number 1 until he shows that he can't. I think we would all agree on that. And then Burns being the top arm of this draft. I am curious here. How far down do you think Hagen Smith would go here, Will?
Probably not too far down. I think he has a pretty viable career as a reliever. I think it probably is a reliever at this point, though.
Yep. I would have to agree with that. Thank you so much, Will, for joining us. I know we have kind of taken up everybody's time here for 2 hours, and it has been an absolute pleasure getting to do this. Again, your content from the Combine has been absolutely wonderful. So keep up the great work, man. Like, you have been killing it on that side of things. So for Nate, you can follow Nate at NCJones03 on Twitter, and you can follow Will at Will T Dodge on Twitter as well. This has been the PLive Pro Side podcast, and 2 hours in, I can officially say, see y'all later.